true, but second of all, even
You're
if
not entitled.
Still talking here. Even if it
You're
were true, these aren't people we have to have here. We already have our own rapists and murderers. We don't need to be bringing in more.
So you're saying that they...
Ann Coulter appeared on Real Time with Bill Maher and shocked the audience, completely shutting down Maher and the rest of the panel. She went nuclear, dismantling their woke ideologies and leaving no room for their arguments. With sharp wit and unwavering confidence, Coulter tore apart their worldview, proving her points with precision and leaving the panel speechless. It was a decisive moment that stunned everyone in the room.
Stories that are autobiographical, and I had a very challenging childhood, and in retrospect, challenging. Didn't have a father around. There was a lot of alcoholism and drug abuse and abandonment, and you're left to your own devices at a very young age, and you grow up too fast.
But that helps you as an actor.
It does, in a way. It helps you as an actor.
You have something to draw on when you have to be emotional.
Yes.
Oh, my dad was mean.
He's drawing on it now.
I said he was a great lesbian. Lesbian, what about Dan Savage, in the years you've been writing a sex advice column, have people's problems changed much?
No. Thanks to abstinence education, I have a non-stop supply of sexually miseducated idiots who are getting themselves in trouble with their genitals.
And how can Donald Trump win the election after alienating Hispanics, a key demographic, and women? Let's be honest. He's
Hispanics love him. Didn't you see the taco bowl? That was fantastic.
I love Hispanics.
I don't think this is funny because Donald Trump's campaign began with a big lie about the people who are coming here legally or illegally, accusing them of Mexico of sending their rapists, sending the murderers. Some of them may be nice people, and that's just a big demagogic lie.
The atmosphere on Real Time with Bill Maher was lighthearted, with everyone enjoying the conversation. Bill Maher included, who was laughing along. The vibe was fun, and it seemed like a casual exchange until one guy decided to bring up a serious topic, clearly throwing off the mood. And Coulter made a single comment, and this person immediately got butthurt, completely derailing the tone of the discussion. It was almost absurd how upset he got over something so minor. The panel was just having a relaxed chat, but as soon as Trump's name was mentioned, it was like the mood shifted. Even Bill Maher, who used to be known for his extreme anti-Trump stance, was still laughing at the guy, almost as if he couldn't believe the sudden shift in tone. Maher clearly wasn't expecting someone to turn the conversation into a Trump-bashing session, and that's exactly what happened. And Coulter, as expected, was about to destroy this guy's argument, making it clear that his outburst was both unwarranted and out of place.
That was like a shot of adrenaline right into the worst of our body politic. It just inflamed.
What do you mean it's a lie? You're claiming illegal aliens don't commit murders and rapes?
That isn't what he was saying.
At no higher rate, at a lesser rate. It's a demagogic lie because you're likelier to be raped in this country per capita by people who are born in this country.
First of all, it's not true. But second of all, even
you're not entitled.
Still talking here. Even if it were true, these aren't people we have to have here. We already have our own rapists and murderers. We don't need to be bringing in more.
So you're saying that they all...
If you enjoy content like this, please like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel. Now, let's get back to the video.
Rapists and murderers. So is that what you're saying?
To point to a small, to a racial minority, marginalized community, vulnerable people, and accuse them of being the rapists.
He accused Mexico of not sending their best people, and they're not sending their best people.
We need a
they're not
demagogic
sending
lie.
anyone. That's a lie to begin with.
Absolutely not true. That is not true.
Really, the Mexican...
So Donald Trump wants to build a wall to protect us from the people who aren't raping us.
He just said something that wasn't true. They were handing out first aid kits and maps for how to get to America. The Mexican government to the poorest areas in Mexico, and we found them and we had them. Yes, they are not sending their neuroscientists.
We need more.
They're getting rid of their problems by sending them
immigrants,
here.
not fewer.
Well, that's because you guys want your gardening done.
No, you know what? I cut my own grass.
You can have as many immigrants as you want, but I want
last time you pushed the
them competing with
legalizing
me and you. And those of us at this table and not competing with our landscapers and maids.
And you know
that's
what?
Who's coming in.
People who are here and are not documented.
And that's why he's going to get
not paid the same thing that people
Richard
are documented.
Tate, is
So you're
marijuana a
lying.
gateway drug? I hope so.
This guy's so
Ann Coulter is an absolute force when it comes to debating, and watching her on these shows is a spectacle. It's impressive how she can walk into a hostile environment where the entire panel is against her, Bill Maher included, and still hold her ground with unwavering confidence. The other panelists, and even much of the audience, are clearly not fans of her views, but Coulter doesn't back down. In fact, she thrives in this atmosphere. You can hear a few cheers when she speaks, especially when she takes on Bill Maher directly, but for the most part, the crowd isn't on her side. Despite that, Coulter manages to not only hold her own but to entertain, making her points in a way that's both sharp and funny. What stands out is how she manages to keep the audience engaged while destroying the opposing arguments. It's not just that she's right, it's how she delivers her responses. She does it in a way that's unbothered by the backlash, not afraid to push buttons. When she's confronted with the typical woke rhetoric, she responds with brutally honest and often hilarious one-liners. For example, when talking about immigration, she doesn't hesitate to remind everyone that the U.S. has enough issues of its own, and she makes her point by bluntly mentioning crimes like rapists and other criminal elements. The panel looks like they're about to cry, struggling to find a way to counter her without looking completely ridiculous. Coulter's ability to handle this pressure, while delivering her arguments in such an entertaining, unapologetic way, makes her stand out in a sea of politically correct discourse. People love to argue that migrants are the best and brightest, but Ann Coulter makes a strong case that they're not. She's right when she says they're not sending their best. If you truly believe that the majority of migrants coming to the U.S. are top-tier professionals, then either you're misinformed or outright brainwashed by the mainstream media. The idea that the people coming here are all bringing high-level skills like brain surgeons is simply false. What we're seeing instead are mostly people filling low-wage jobs, often at the expense of American workers. And Coulter pointed out that many of these migrants, while useful to certain industries, are primarily providing cheap labor. And while that may be beneficial for certain sectors, it's not helping the country as a whole when it comes to high-skill, high-demand professions. It's important to recognize that, while these migrants contribute to certain areas, they are not bringing the expertise that's often claimed. The media's narrative that these individuals are all highly educated professionals is misleading. The statistics back up Coulter's argument, and even Bill Maher, who generally holds liberal views, isn't pushing back much against her because he knows she's right. The mainstream narrative is crumbling, and it's hard to deny that the reality is far more complicated than the narrative they push. It's hard to understand how anyone can still disagree with Ann Coulter's point of view after all this time, especially when it aligns with what Donald Trump has said. I get that we need to take Trump's rhetoric with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to ideas like mass deportation. Let's be real, that's not going to happen. The issues she raises are still valid, especially with rising concerns about terrorism. There are increasing fears that terror cells might be infiltrating the country, and it's a real possibility given the state of things. While mass deportation might not be a feasible solution, there's still a need for better immigration laws and stricter enforcement. At the very least, we should be focusing on strengthening immigration policies to prevent further issues, even if we can't deport everyone. The Biden administration's handling of immigration has been disastrous, and it's created an environment where problems are only getting worse. We might not be able to solve everything right now. We can at least stop the bleeding by enforcing stronger laws and taking immigration seriously, rather than letting it continue unchecked.
Because I need some right now.
No, it's not. Let me just tell you, I get about 5 to 10 people a year calling me to get their kids or their loved ones off marijuana. I get
Out of how many?
Well, I get 90 a day.
So 5 or 10 a year for pot.
But I get 90 a day for
Right.
prescription opiates,
Of course.
which gives you the
Right.
balance.
Yes, and this has been a canard for decades.
But I will say, and you're probably not going to be happy about this, okay? You know, we keep getting better as a society, and the science shows now that your brain stops developing between the ages of 23 and 25. So if that's true, I'd like to see a 25-year-old age limit.
For pot?
Yeah.
Most doctors do.
I'm not invited back.
No, I'm always for the truth first and
Yeah.
facts first. I never heard that one. I'm glad I started late. I wasn't 25, but I was 19. That's
Right.
a lot. I mean, that's not 12.
I was 12.
You were 12 when you
Oh
started.
my gosh.
I was
12.
36 the first time I smoked pot.
See,
Right.
you're good.
How did you start at 12?
I took it from my father.
Oh my God, it's like the
You
ad.
two should.
I learned it.
Yeah.
I did. I took it
You
from my
should
dad.
hook up.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can teach you to cry about it.
No.
Anyway.
I'm not a fan of marijuana. I don't encourage people to smoke it because, honestly, it tends to dull your mind, reduce ambition, and strip away your edge. Every time you smoke, it's like you're nerfing yourself. How can you expect to accomplish much if you're constantly high? That said, in comparison to opioids, pills, or substances like lean, marijuana is nowhere near as harmful. The opioid crisis is a far more serious problem, with a devastating impact on lives, addiction, and overdose deaths. When you look at the bigger picture, marijuana isn't nearly as dangerous or deadly as these other drugs. That said, I still question whether legalizing marijuana everywhere is the right move. While it's less harmful than opioids, I believe it still has a negative impact on cognitive function and ambition. We're essentially dulling the population when we encourage widespread use of marijuana. While it may not be as destructive as other drugs, I still don't think it's the best choice for society, and I worry about the long-term effects on people's drive and mental clarity. Let me know in the comments what you think about Ann Coulter stepping into enemy territory on Real Time with Bill Maher and completely dominating the entire panel. She was getting shots taken at her from all sides, with the audience even booing her, but she didn't back down. Instead, she stood strong and destroyed their arguments with ease. It was an impressive display of confidence and logic, and she wasn't fazed by the hostility. What are your thoughts on the Bill Maher versus Ann Coulter situation? Drop your opinions below.